Hi, loves. Welcome back to Spirituality is Simple with Alexia Landa. Today, we're going to talk forecast. We're going to talk love. We're going to talk travel because that's all I've been doing the past year. We're going to talk about why I post and then I don't post the podcast. I have to just come clean. I have to explain. Not even explain, I want to share. I don't like explaining. No, I just want to share why sometimes there is an episode and why sometimes there isn't. And I understand that's called consistency or lack of consistency, but I want to explain why. And I want to share. Part of the reason why that happens in my life is because the energy, my work as a channeler is so focused on energy that there are times where what I am ready to share or what there is to share still needs some brewing, still needs some time. So I've tried with this podcast, I've tried the weekly, the bi weekly. I started monthly about 2 years ago, three, and I'm going back to monthly. That's it. That's how the energy is really moving. We need a one wave at a time, and one wave per month is perfect. Why? Because energy is in constant motion, but it doesn't mean that as humans, that constant motion is so rapid. It is so fast. It actually needs accumulation. So I was finding myself that every forecast I would give when it was like weekly, there was like an overlap where sometimes it was happening like 2 months after. And I started understanding, well, I'm going ahead. So let's, slow down, Alexia. Me speaking to myself. So so that's why. So I'm going back to monthly. Again, spirituality is simple, so I'm gonna keep it very simple. We're going to go over the monthly forecast. If you would like more detail on the monthly forecast, then you can join my master classes that are on Substack. And these master classes, you join live. If you can't join, then you listen back to them. You get to ask questions live. I read them if you send them to my email. Or right now, I'm really discerning about having those conversations more live, as in like opening up the mic and listening to people. I just like to do things one step at a time. So, if you're ready for a masterclass and live Q&A, please join. It's been the funnest thing ever. I do those weekly. You get to ask whatever you want to ask, as long as it's about you and your connection with someone or something, but not necessarily what are they thinking. That's very different. We don't like to be nosy, but it's just been really fun. I love the master classes because I get to go deeper into what each tool means and how to use it and how helpful it is to be connected to your spirituality as you are having just the human experience. There's this I was thinking about this today. There's this misconception of esoterics being spiritual, or the definition of spirituality, or religion being the definition of spirituality. All spirituality is breathing. It's life. So you being alive, you're spiritual. It just depends how you're using that light, how you're using your fraction of light. If you're into esoterics, amazing. If you're into religion, amazing. It's just that usually as humans, we're always wanting to connect to that balance that internally makes us feel peaceful and connects us to tranquility. And when we have that peace and that tranquility, we understand what joy truly is. Joy stops being about others. Joy stops being about something specific. It's just joy. So I want everyone to understand that spirituality is simple because it is truly everything. Just depends how you're using it. So, if you're into, again, esoterics, religion, whatever it is that calls you, live it. Live it because it might have a tool that is in there for you. When you ask me, I keep it very simple. I keep it all about my toolbox, my connection to my fraction of light, and my constant communication with my guides, with what my values have been for a very long time. But you're talking to someone who has been channeling since I've been channeling since I was 4, probably before that, but that's like the age where it was very obvious. And channeling was never about survival for me. It was never about what are others thinking about me or what I should or shouldn't do here. It was like a self exploration and an exploration that had a lot to do with lineage, an exploration that did have a lot to do with my loved ones, almost like being able to see beyond what they were saying. So I always knew when, my mom was stressed and the exact reason why, which for a child is not always a good thing, but for me it was divine because, everything's divine, nothing is a mistake. So, personally, I can tell you that everything was about an experience. I always read very scripture like books. So, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Sohar, I've read all the books, the Bhagavad Gita. I always read those books. I was never really called to like the new type of spiritual books because whenever I would start reading them, it felt kind of like repetitive to me personally. But I did love reading a lot about art. I loved reading about music, Quincy Jones, any type of book that was related to that or related to how music was being created. I was always called on wanting to just see how people were living. Like, how are they living? Like, why do they live like that? Like, I was always in that exploration of why. So, I believe that's why I see spirituality so simple because everyone has translated it in such a different way with so many different tools. And that's what people call authenticity. So, if you're looking for that authenticity within yourself, then you have to choose what tools work best for you. What actually brings peace to you, not what brings peace to others, peace to you. And of course, bringing you peace means that you're respecting others. I don't know anyone who feels peace by making harm to others. Their mind might say they feel peaceful, but the feeling is different, and that's why they keep seeking something and chasing something. So that's why spirituality is so simple, because you get to be you get to be authentic. Of course, there's layers to that and there's healing to that, but healing ends at some point. You start embodying it. And when you start embodying it, that's usually like the longer, almost phase of life, embodying, changing patterns, noticing patterns. This is when I invite everyone to travel because you get exposed to different ways of doing things. And I'm not saying this person runs every single day, so I'm going to run every single day. I'm talking more about perspective because perspective is not the part of healing. Self-awareness is the part of healing. But there's so many perspectives out there that it starts opening up your mind in different ways, and that's when you start changing patterns. When you travel, you notice that some some actions might be beautiful in some places while others see it as ugly, and just your world starts to expand. And maybe when I was younger, I knew this because my guides would tell me and I would channel, and there were words. But then when I started traveling, it was more of an experience. It was more of an activation where the why was very obvious. And the obvious part of it was that authenticity. Everyone gets to be themselves. So I always tell people that embodying something is that part of living it, not just knowing it. One thing is to know, another thing is to live an experience that it connects you to a feeling, not an emotional memory, not just an energy, but something deeper, something that activates within you. So I just want to say that you get to choose what your spirituality looks like, what it is that activates your spirit. What is it that activates your joy and just fulfillment without needing anyone or anything, where you stop feeling lonely? Personally, I didn't understand that part of life. I didn't understand what lonely was because I was alone a lot. For 7 years of my life, I was an only child. And being alone meant I would lay down in my bedroom on the floor. I've always had a thing with laying down on the carpet or just the floor and just listen to music. That was my thing. And whenever I didn't listen to music, I was just writing. I was writing what I would hear, what I would sense. So I was never lonely. I was alone, but not lonely. And whenever I got to spend time with my mom, which was a lot as well, it wasn't about her having to give me anything. It was just the experience of whatever we both had to offer. And the older I got, the more I noticed how good I was at being alone, how good I was at my space, being able to just write my thoughts, being able to feel and understand the difference between that and the energy around me. Because the feelings we receive from our fractions of light, from what we want to co-create, then become energy. And being alone gave me that freedom to understand those differences. So the reason why I bring all this up is because, December is that moment where we're surrounded by a lot or we're not surrounded by much. Depending on what part of life you are, where you have a lot of family to spend this Christmas with, or you feel like you don't, or just physically it doesn't show up. I want everyone to understand the difference between loneliness and alone. Huge difference. There's people who are surrounded by many people and still feel alone. There's people who are alone and don't feel lonely. So what I meant to say was there's people surrounded by many and still feel lonely. That was the right thing I was trying to say. So if you're noticing that lonely is a tool that needs to be deactivated from within you, it is time to give to yourself everything you've been asking others to give you. And it is extremely important this December because there's this opportunity to really activate the tool of self-acceptance. That's the tool of the month, self-acceptance. Many confuse this tool with, well, I need to love every single part of me and I need to, accept everything. Personally, I am someone who's had a very deep form of self-love. I just used it also with a lot of self-sabotage at some point in my life because I wasn't self-accepting. I wasn't accepting that maybe, just maybe, I didn't like the guy everyone liked. So I wasn't really missing out on anything. But I didn't want to accept that. So I went for it. And I was right. He wasn't the one. Maybe, just maybe, I wasn't accepting that I wanted to be the channeler I am. But no, I went out to all different types of careers and wanted to be everything. I was using the tool of self-love. I was loving myself deeply enough to do things that at the end of the day, I was just strong enough to do them. I was prideful to do them. But then I understood that self acceptance was extremely connected to courage, and that courage was also self love. That self love meant I'll just be me. And what does that do? That disconnects you from loneliness because you start giving to yourself everything instead of expecting it from the external, instead of expecting it to come from those around you. And you start understanding that true love is just comes in no matter what you're doing, how you're doing it. So, of course, there has to be a boundary. You can't be causing people harm either. But when you're stable in your spirit, in yourself, then that balance is always there. And yes, you don't always feel understood by others, but are you understanding yourself? That's the key. That's the key to self acceptance. It is not about every single day I wake up just feeling amazing. No, it's about every day I wake up accepting where I am. And I make that amazing. I make that be the beauty of me, that I co created something. And sometimes co creations are very simple, other days co creations are extreme, unknown. I wasn't expecting that. But both fill up the heart deeply because the extreme and the unknown open up a door and the simple recharge you. So they're both important. And I want everyone going into this December with an open heart to noticing much how much energy towards almost like I want to use the word addiction I have before when it comes to family because that's like my specialty, just helping people understand their lineage, heal their family within themselves. By the way, I have to say this before I keep going. Whenever people say, I was the chosen one to heal my whole lineage, I want to say something. We are fractions of our lineage, just like we're fractions of God. That means everyone involved in the family has a fraction they're going to heal. So we're all unique, we're all special, and we're all important to our lineage. Maybe there's someone who starts, maybe there's someone who ends it. But they're all important, and they all do it in a very different way. So I do not believe that just one person heals everything. I do not believe that just one person carries the whole weight. It's just that every single person in the family carries it in a different way. Some of them might be choosing sacrifice. It's not, the most simple way of being spiritual. Others might be a little more connected to changing the pattern. But we're all important in the lineage. We all take some sort of responsibility. We just make it look differently. So, the whole idea of the chosen one, I want everyone to know we've all been chosen. That's why we're here. Every single human on earth has been chosen. That's why every single human on earth is here. So that you can even take off, that seriousness of having to do everything right and instead notice that you get to experience and trust your toolbox. And maybe with that joy, you might see your family different. You might notice the changes. You might stop giving them a role because you're taking on a role that is feeling like it has all the responsibility and all this like weight. Instead, let yourself be free and notice that everyone has an opportunity to bring something to the family. And this December, I want you to see that. How everyone's love language gets to be different. How, if you're not part of your family right now, What are you doing out there in the world that is really going to expand the lineage? How are you honoring your lineage instead of being mad at it? Because I'm always going to remind everyone we are our ancestors. We were part of creating whatever has been created. So, let's have a little bit of an open heart to ourselves in the past, those past lives, so that your heart can expand and it won't keep closing up to limitation, to old belief systems, to old ways of viewing things, and truly open up to the beauty it is to have a family. I want to say that it's not even about Christmas, it's not even about New Year's. December is a month where the energy shifts because of our own co creations, because of high expectations, because of high belief systems that clash. So when you self accept, you accept everything around you. You stop wanting to change it, you stop wanting control, you stop wanting it to look just one specific way. So choose you and say, how do I want to choose to think, choose to feel, choose and decide that my day will be like? So if I'm sitting next to someone who triggers me, am I going to participate in the trigger? Am I going to show the new role I'm playing? Or do I have to just set a boundary where I say, I can't stay here. I'm gonna go sit over there. If they get mad, if they get hurt, they can speak their mind. They have freedom, they have free will to decide what they want to do with their truth. But I know my truth. So that you won't make this month about everyone else, but rather all about the tool of self acceptance. And you can start 2025 strong and firm and grounded. If not, I see all my clients kind of tired in January. That's why January, which by the way, it's my birthday month. January is not the most loved month, but if you change this energy, you'll notice there's a lot of love. A lot of love. The strongest energies that clash sometimes are the energies with the most love to give. They just don't know how to give it or receive it or both. So, this month, using the tool of self acceptance will be key. And self acceptance means you'll also accept that side of you that wants to control things, that wants to be right all the time, that wants things to just go their way. Let's learn how to be a team. Let's learn how to let everything coexist and everything have a space, because that's very divine. That's beautiful. And when it comes to just the monthly forecast, December is going to offer a lot of money, a lot of abundance, a lot of growth, but you have to be paying attention, which means you have to really assess how you want to use your energy. Do you want to use your energy with running late, feeling like you're running out of time all the time? Or do you want to prepare and organize? It's a month that needs a lot of organization, a lot of structure, a lot of sleep, and most importantly, really working on the unknown, because 2025 looks very unknown. A lot of new things coming out, a lot of new energy, a lot of changes. I see a lot of changes when it comes to work for many, when it comes to relationships for many. I see a lot of closing cycles. So 2025 looks like a year where a lot of people will want to just stay home. And I invite everyone to not do that, to expand, to be open to the unknown, to believe in themselves. And of course, I'll be here. I'll be talking about it and saying what tools to use. But it's a year where alignment and rebirth is really going to show up. It's not we're going through a rebirth. No, we already went through the rebirth. Energy exchange happened. Now it's going to show up. Now it's going to be visible. So many people might surprise you. Many people might show up in ways that you didn't expect. You might show up in ways you didn't expect. You might surprise yourself, which is usually the most exciting part of a rebirth. But a lot of people will be flapping their wings in ways that were very unexpected. So the tool of strength is going to be very present in 2025, and the tool of courage. So there's going to be a lot of change, which I'm excited about. And when it comes to detaching from people who question you, that's a deep thing this December. The questioning part is usually extremely connected to lack of self-acceptance. We want to really see how the questioning is coming from your inner self. How do you question yourself? How do you constantly almost like have that inner dialogue of the question answer moment where whatever you feel others question you by, you're really just questioning yourself. It's like the other day I heard someone read a text out loud, and it was something about like, I don't know. It was a client too. It was almost like they had to do it in front of me for me to see it, but they were like, they read the message almost like, I'm gonna use like whatever phrase comes to me. Did you take out the milk like I asked you? But the tone of voice had changed. Then I asked them, I was like, can I just see the message? And it was just a simple question. Did you take out the milk like I asked you? Just simple. And I was like, okay. And I assessed, I was like, energetically, I'm seeing one thing, but the writing, maybe they don't know how to communicate. Energetically, it was a very simple question, but the writing had a little bit of defensiveness, and then the person used this tone of voice. I was like, okay, why is the energy and the message not congruent? It just wasn't making sense. So I asked them, does this person usually know how to communicate? And the energy of defensiveness was there. And I was like, and how are you defensive? They were like, well, I usually send these, these type of messages too. So it was just a constant like trauma bonding of not knowing how to communicate, which is one of the key aspects of a relationship, learning how to communicate so that you can trust one another. If not, it always feels like an attack. And spiritually, when there's lack of congruency in that energy of like what they truly mean versus how the communication is working, there is just this deep love that almost inverts into, oh, I can't stand the person. So there's inverted energy due to that lack of communication or lack of knowing how to communicate. So it's important to become very self-aware and then embody the healing when you're in a relationship so that you won't be constantly showing one another what you were expecting from other people, like parents, siblings, relationships from the past. That's a very common one. So notice how you're communicating. Notice how you're receiving. If you're assuming or if you're actually asking, what did you mean? Because sometimes we feel like there's no safe space to just ask. And we want to know ahead and want to be like, no, well, I need to be defensive because this is what strength is. No, that's just a pattern that was taught. Strength is actually communicating and being courageous to ask as it. So people see it as confrontation, and true confrontation is that constant lack of communication in a way that's actually healthy, that's creating a new wound without the need to. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my travel because I've been going everywhere, which has been a huge blessing, by the way. Truly, I don't think I would have ever imagined to be doing that. It's almost like as a channeler, I see so many things and I get to connect to them, traveling was always something that I saw as, well, I'll be doing that. I know. I just knew. But there was this deep blockage in my feeling of how reachable it was. It was like, well, next year and next year. I knew I was going to do it, but it was almost like next year was the year just because of the reaching point. And now that I've been traveling, I understood something very key, that it wasn't about my lack of belief system, because everyone says, well, you have to believe. No, it's more about the steps towards it. The steps of understanding accumulation. For me, it started with noticing that I would travel already. I would travel back and forth to visit my family from Santa Monica. And I would do it like nothing. I wasn't afraid of driving. I've always been very independent. I take it as I'm my own boss. I know when and where and how. So then I started exploring that connection to the accumulation of actually traveling to different places without having to really need anything, because I already had everything I needed to get what I wanted. So I just opened up to the opportunity of it being reachable. And I said, well, I can reach to my phone and buy a plane ticket. And of course, many are going to say, yeah, but the money you spend and the abundance. And the thing is that when you want something to be reachable, you have to really feel it as possible. So usually everyone works the other way around and says, oh, well, it's possible until I see the money. It's possible until I see the opportunity. It's possible until I see others do it. Well, I want to say it's the opposite. It's possible when you open up to it. It's possible when you choose that possibility for yourself. And I've always said this when people ask me about the future. I don't like calling myself a psychic because I don't even think it works that way. The way it works, it has a lot to do with seeing all the possibilities. I see like a staircase that is sideways, and I see all the possibilities, people are connecting to them. And again, it's not about belief, it's just about the connection. I'm connected to traveling. Okay, have I seen plane tickets? Okay, I'm connected to traveling. Have I noticed where I would like to go? It stops being a dream. It starts being something that I'm planning. So when I help people heal and I see all their possibilities, usually the closest possibility, which is their future pretty much, is extremely connected to the pattern they keep accumulating. When you accumulate the pattern that you want, you understand how to co-create. You stop obsessing over it. You stop having to think about it every day. Just giving it attention and connection at some point in your week, even, it happens. Because when you obsess, you connect to the energy of lack. And that's not going to help at all. It's only going to feel like something is taken away every single day that you're not experiencing it. But instead, you connect with the joy of knowing it's just a possibility. Whenever it's meant to happen, it's divine. So, how fun that would be. I don't know how many tools I'm activating until then, until I get to experience it. But I know I am because I've decided and I've chosen. So, you stop having to stop to check in. No, you just notice every single day, maybe I looked at plane tickets. I looked at this. Maybe I should start offering in person work. And that's what I did. Instantly, it clicked and everything started. And I started traveling. So I always knew it wasn't even like a dream. I just always knew I was going to be that person because I knew myself well enough. And since I wasn't into manifesting, it just was like, well, it'll come. But then I understood what my guides were telling me when it came to co creation and why it was so easy for me. They told me because you're accumulating, not obsessing. Everything started to change in that moment. Why? Because you stop trying and you start being yourself, and everything starts unfolding. So, divine timing is about accepting what it is in the now. You always have what you need to get what you want. When you obsess, when you see it as a lack, when you start comparing, then you start taking away from yourself. And you stop noticing what you're experiencing right now that is activating so many tools and giving you so many things. And my traveling has just been amazing because, first of all, I love food. I just love food. I do. I understand that I'm not supposed to attach to external. I mean, I teach about it, but I just love food. And whenever you travel, you get to experience their culture through food, you know? So I've been eating really good food, really good croissants. Everywhere I go, there's just different types of croissants, and I am aware now that I'm a bit obsessed with croissants. And also, just amazing people. My way of traveling is that I don't really plan where I'm going to go. I am extremely blessed with people who are amazing and they start sending me recommendations and they start telling me, you have to go to this restaurant, you have to go to this place. All I plan is where I'm going to stay, what days I'm going to work in person, and the rest I just like walking. I have accepted that walking just gives me so much fulfillment and pleasure because it's like the way you truly experience the culture. You see the people coming out of work, going into work, the children, the moms, the parents, the grandparents. Something that really brought, my attention, caught my attention in Spain specifically was the grandparents walking the children to school. I cried. I literally cried. I was like, oh my god. Crying because I hadn't seen that before in other places because my grandmother walked me to school at some point to kindergarten. And it just showed me how just noticing other cultures it's a different perspective or it reminds you of things that you used to live or it shows you that it's possible, you know? It shows you that it's possible. So, being exposed to all those things has just been beautiful. One of the places where it was very interesting for me because the energy was a little heavy was London. London really felt like a place where there is so much potential. So much potential. It is so beautiful, but the tool of confidence really needs to be activated. Really needs to, it's almost like you all have everything you need. Don't let anything control you. You all have everything you need. And people are really nice and sweet. They love having conversations. It was just a magical place where I want to show everyone that it was magical to themselves. Of course, there's places where you're just so used to things that you're like, well, yeah, but you don't live there. So I understand. I understand. The place where I felt the most empowered as a woman, as like by the way, when I say that, I mean like my divine masculine feeling secure and balanced and just being able to express without, wanting to control, almost like how I'm perceived or any of that. And when I say this, I saw it in other women, is Italy. Italy was just this place where everyone you see is just empowered in their way of being, in their self, free. Maybe it's the places I went to, but I loved it. It was just, yeah, it was just magical. I want to say that Spain feels a little more like home to me. like this huge connection and grounding for me. And of course, I mean, I have so many ancestors from Spain, so probably a thing. Just, yeah, Spain made me feel very free. The tool of freedom came up there, the tool of empowerment came up in Italy, the tool of confidence came up in London. I just wanted everyone to, like, own it. Then Miami, and I was talking about countries, but now I'm, a little bit of cities. Miami is this place where there's also the tool of empowerment and also the tool of balance. So it's like a mix, which is very beautiful because when you feel empowered but also balanced, you're grounded. You don't go too fast or too slow. You're just, you're doing you. And I did see that tool a lot there. I think there's a lot of potential there, which is beautiful. I am from California. California always has shown the tool of the magic, of the dreaming, of the expansion. I do believe that's why it has all the weathers you could imagine, because you can dream big. You can be anything you want. I would just love California to remember that and notice it in themselves rather than chasing and trying. When we stop chasing and trying, we understand who we are, we value our energy, and we just stay grounded rather than the seeking and the more and more. One of my favorite parts I went to this year also was Sedona. The calmness and the peace there is extreme. The silence is beautiful. If you're looking for silence, go to Sedona or Tuscany. Tuscany's silence, I stayed in Montepulciano. The silence was just extreme in a really good way. So if you are trying to connect to that tool, Montepulciano or Sedona are the places. And I love how these places remind you of who you are in different ways with different tools. And also, I loved how I was able to experience it with different people. Everywhere I went, I either met different people, of course, I worked with different people, and also I either was with a friend or someone I know, but it was all connected to those tools. So it just kept showing me how divine it is to be where you are, to open up to what life has to give you and offer you, and an experience. I met amazing people being on the train that I would have never thought I would meet. Amazing people who truly are just beautiful mirrors that I want to stay connected to all the time, because we get to live that. We get to say, what type of mirrors do I want to connect to? And it's not about less or more. No, it's about true compatibility and what you want to experience in this life. Because I want to remind everyone, we are what, 8 billion people, or I think so, 8 billion? I believe so. We have to be okay with focusing on what we're compatible so that we can be free. And we won't feel like we're owing everyone to everything to all the time to. As long as you understand family, you heal whatever your fraction is here to heal. You embody a new pattern, the one that is extremely connected to you and your essence. And you show up with the co creation, which means you open up to the unknown. You let yourself feel what you need to feel. And all my traveling, I've cried, I've laughed, I've been happy, I've been sad, I've been everything. One thing that never changed was my peace, because I know myself so well that nothing moves me. I'm not afraid of being sad. You know why I was sad? Because I would watch my family and I'd be like, oh my god, I miss my family. And then I'm back with my family. I'm like, oh my god, I want to travel again. Many call that a paradox. I just call it being human. It's not about one thing or the other. It's about you get to experience both. And being sad sometimes is amazing too. You get a good cry. So it's about letting yourself be human. To me personally, traveling really showed me I'm okay with being me. I'm okay with being compatible with some things, not compatible with others. I'm okay with acceptance, truly accepting me for me, that I'm a walker. I am. I love food. I do. I love music. I love to find a good gym and go as many times as I want to. I keep it very simple. I do. I love to play around with clothes. Sometimes I have more, sometimes I have less, but it never takes anything away from my stability and my peace because nothing is defining me. I'm defined. I know who I am, and that's self acceptance. So, whatever external thing wants to give me, I decided what I do with it because I've defined myself. So if someone tells me, don't eat so many croissants, you know the consequence, I say, yeah, I do know the consequence. So let me decide how I'm going to do that. And it's not about immaturity, of not wanting the facts, by the way. No, it's about the maturity of taking full responsibility for yourself and having fun with it. Just like I I love coming back to my hometown and just being around my sister and noticing what she does with the tools, and then going to visit my brother and noticing how he uses the tools. And we grew up in the same household with the same mom, with the same dad, with the same rules, with the same story. But we're all translating it so differently. My brother is the most disciplined person you'll ever meet. And I love the way he uses the tool of discipline. I just use it differently. My sister is the most grounded person you'll ever meet. I'm the most up in the air person you'll ever meet. And we all interact with so much love and so much compassion and empathy. We all learn from one another. I'm the oldest, but it doesn't mean I stop learning. My sister is 14 years younger than me, and my brother is 7 years younger than me, which has been very divine because we all get to translate a fraction of my mom and our fathers in different ways to just to keep expanding, keep the lineage healing, keep the lineage embodying whatever new pattern it needs. We all came here to be different. So remember that. That's a huge part of self acceptance. That's a huge part of feeling beautiful and amazing and peaceful and firm. So remember that this December. There's this huge opportunity to notice your true abundance and how you connect to that abundance without feeling like anything takes it away, because nothing takes it away. So have open ears to listen without wanting to correct anyone, without wanting to be right over everyone. Let both opinions coexist. Maybe they're very similar. You're just both saying it so differently. You're both using different languages, but usually the key, the tool is the same. You just use it differently. So thank you everyone for listening today. I hope to see you all in the next masterclass. And if I don't see you in the masterclass with the live Q&A, then hopefully I see you soon for the next podcast episode. If you're ready to get a channeled message with any question regarding karmic relationship with someone, usually those are the best ones for family. What to do for 2025, that's the most common one when the year is ending. What is my tool for 2025? How do I use it? What can I stay connected to this 2025? How can I connect to my abundance? There's an option there. And if you're ready to do some deep healing, I'll see you for a one-on-one session. So I can read your energy, translate it, and give you the next steps to really heal whatever it is that is taking away your peace. Because peace is ours. We were born with it. So I'm sending everyone a big energetic hug, love and light, and talk next year. Good. Yes, the next podcast episode will be January 2025. To see you then. Bye.